got to go to the Super Bowl in the finals in 1 year. Like that's stuff that I was thinking of maybe in my 30s or 40s. There was just that sense of like imposter syndrome. Do I even deserve to be here? At some point, I kind of had to sit back and like look myself in the mirror and say, like, okay, like this this is no accident.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Sideline Stories. Today I'm here with Clifford Taylor, former D1 athlete and current content creator. How are you doing today, Clifford?
Good, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for taking the time. And before we get into it, could we just start with a quick introduction, introducing yourself?
Yeah, so full name, Clifford Taylor the fourth. I played football at the University of Florida, go Gators. I was a graphic design major. And during that time, I began my career as a content creator. I think back in the day, I would call it an influencer. But yeah, I spent time as a creator and designer at Florida, and then I ended up working for the LA Rams the year they won the Super Bowl. So that was awesome. And then I ended up working for the NBA for a little bit this past season, and now I'm back in Orlando working as a full-time content creator. So life's been great.
That's great. And I'm excited to talk about, your journey from, growing up to going to Florida, LA Rams, NBA to where you are today. Talk to us about the Clifford show. So how did you get into creating content in the first place?
Yeah, so the Clifford Show actually came about a year or so in the game. Like I started making videos back in 2019, but I didn't really take it serious until about late 2020, early 2021. And around that time, that's when I started building connections with like a lot of TikTok reps, Meta reps, Twitter reps, or whatever the case was. One thing in common with all of them, they all recommended like having some sort of identity, whether it was like a hashtag, a show, whatever the case is. And so a good friend of mine, I'm sure we all know AJ Green, he's been doing AJ TV for God knows how long. And so I was like, okay, I need to come up with some sort of identity that separates me, obviously from my peers, but also from Clifford the Big Red Dog, the show. And so I was thinking of maybe, CTTV. And I was like, nah, that don't sound good. Uh, you know, Clifford, just Clifford. I'm like, nah, there's too many Cliffords on the planet. And then I was just like, okay, we'll just rock with the Clifford show. So it's pretty much just an umbrella of football content, basketball content, lifestyle, traveling. Definitely trying to get more into music, especially now that I have my own place here in Orlando. So it's just a versatile way of showing people like this is me and it's all real. And Clifford Show is what you see is what you get. So all of those categories put into one. And so thus the Clifford Show has been rocking for about 2 years now.
That's awesome. And I think definitely it's a term that not only encapsulates, all you do, whether it's sports, entertainment, travel, vlog, lifestyle. It's also something that, overlaps well with your personal brand, but also what you're creating online with sports content. After graduating from the University of Florida, you got the opportunity to work for the Rams, which was the year they won the Super Bowl, and then at the NBA. Can you just talk a little bit about each experience and maybe just talk about one highlight and one lesson you learned from each of those?
Yeah, man. I'll say this: LA was a roller coaster because I'm an East Coast kid at heart. So living over there, it was definitely a culture shock. It was different. The vibe was different. A lot of highs, a lot of lows. Um, like I said, just kind of like stuff like with just like within the organization and things like that. But I would say I learned a lot just about what it means to be working in professional, not just professional sports, but sports at large, and just how professional you have to be. And you got to be professional. You learn to be professional really, really quick. Like literally 20 minutes after I posted my farewell to the Rams, they came calling. The NBA did so much for me in that short period of time that they really didn't have to because I was maybe a couple months in, and next thing you know, I'm on the floor at the NBA Finals. Now, I can't speak for everybody else, but there were times during that experience where I was just like, is this a joke? Am I even supposed to be here?
Mhm.
So I felt I felt guilty to a degree, but at the same time, it's like it wasn't like I was begging for it. It
Mhm.
just happened, and so I was just like, okay, well, if anything, I'm gonna try to stop feeling guilty, embrace this moment, create the best content I can for the NBA, and we're gonna let this ball roll. It was a one of one experience, and so if I decide to retire from personal content, back to sports media I go.
I was gonna kind of save this for later, but you kind of brought it up, so I want to transition into it. Let's talk creator economy for a second and being a creator, because I think when people think influencer or creator, they often see the final polished product. But what you just said about treating it like a business, that really kind of struck me. I would love to hear a little bit more about what goes on behind the scenes of being a creator. I think there's a lot more strategy, and I think there's a lot more of the entrepreneur business side of things that people don't always appreciate.
Yeah, so I think the difference between because I view myself more as like a content creator because I feel like with influencers, they just try to do whatever. In my opinion, they just try to do whatever is viral and just get it out there without really understanding their analytics, their audience, and things like that. And that kind of goes back to like what I learned working in sports. So once I decided to like do things on my own, I really kind of dug deep into okay, age range, audience. What do they like? What do they like? And so, fortunately for me, I've done enough with obviously like basketball, music, and just like traditional lifestyle stuff where it's like, okay, I can rock with all three. Unfortunately, for some people, like for some creators, they stick to one sport and that's it. I treat every day like a business. I just like write ideas down, write experiences down, and how I can just work my way around it effectively and not just making it like I said the next viral thing. Like honestly, now I mean this sounds kind of cocky. I'm sorry, but anytime House of Highlights or ESPN or Bleach Report, anytime they post me now, I'm like, great, cool. It's gonna be great for them because that's what they do. They grab your stuff
Mhm.
and boom, that's how they. But like a couple years ago, when I was in LA, I would have been like, yo, this is gonna. I'm like, anytime they do it now, I'm just like, cool, okay,
Yeah.
appreciate y'all. So I definitely look at the media spectrum a lot different now than I did a couple years ago. I'll say that.
So your authenticity is something I think that separates you from other people. You're very transparent, and I think one thing that you're very transparent about that I want to ask you about is talking about mental health. And you've helped fundraise for the Facts Initiative so people in your community could access quality mental health care. So I just wanted to ask you, why is being vocal and transparent about your mental health so important to you?
Because I feel like nowadays, unfortunately, we live in a world where it's almost impossible for like a man to be vulnerable without being judged for it. And so I kind of looked at it from multiple aspects because one, I'm thinking it's like, okay, in a kind of silly way, I'm thinking like, okay, I'm gonna be vulnerable. And if someone says something, it's like they won't say it to my 6'6", 250 pound self to my face. Like they won't. And so so that was just one way. And then another reason is because I feel like a lot of times when we get so stuck in the world of the internet, sometimes like we'll either lose ourselves or people they just start to lose insight on the fact that we're human beings. We're people just like them. And so I think one thing that really and this is really when I knew that that I had the right audience because when I took a break last year, and like I said, like last year there was so much happening at the time, like I got to go to the Super Bowl in the finals in 1 year. Like that's stuff that I was thinking of maybe in my 30s or 40s, and so there was just that sense of like imposter syndrome, like why am I here? Do I even deserve to be here? I know some outside voices are probably just saying the worst things about me and how I'm like spoiled rotten and how I kind of like snuck my way into the game, and I'm like, which I don't realize is like it's one thing if I got into the game and I didn't stay there. But the fact that I went from the Rams to the NBA and now I'm able to do my own thing from those experiences, it's like at some point I kind of had to sit back and like look myself in the mirror and say, like, okay, like this this is no accident. This is no accident. You know, this opportunity fell in my lap back in 2019, and all I'm doing is making the most of it. Like we all have different stories and things like that, and so for me, I just wanted to make it a point where it's like whether you feel like you deserve certain things or whether certain things are happening in your life and you don't understand it, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to tell people, how you're feeling inside. And so I think and I think another thing is that a lot of people think that us fellas we're vulnerable on social media and things like that for the numbers. To hell with the numbers. We're just telling people who we are, our identity, where we come from, and things that we have been dealing with, whether it's like all our life, the last few years, maybe after a breakup, whatever the case is. And so I just try to create an open space for not only like my audience, but like people that don't even follow me. That it's like, yo, it's like if you ever want to talk, like obviously you have the numbers, but I'm here too. I read my DMs all the time, whether it's asking for advice about a walk on, a breakup, and things like that. Like I'm no licensed therapist, but at least I can like offer some form of help when necessary. And so I definitely try to do that. Obviously with the Facts Initiative, back home in Charlotte, because I had a few buddies back home that were dealing with some stuff, and I just try to show people. I'm like, yeah, while I'm doing all these videos, like I'm still Clifford. Like
Mhm.
I'm not just the Clifford show on the internet. Like I'm at the end of the day, like I'm still Clifford. And so I just try to show people, my true side. And so even when I was doing the whole even when I was doing the whole Lakers need a center stuff, like granted that stuff was doing well, but like I was like, man, at a point I'm like, I just pray and I hope that I don't lose insight on how I got here before I started on this trend. And
Mhm.
so it's just so many things. It's just so many things put together in one. But yeah, I'm still vulnerable to this day. Definitely doing a lot better than I did last year and even earlier this year. But yeah, like I said, we just try to keep this ball rolling because like I said, God doesn't do all these things, on accident. So I'm just keeping my head down, staying 10 toes and letting God take care of the rest.
Clifford, at this time, really appreciate the time today. The floor is yours if you want to add anything or revisit anything that we talked about. And please let people know where they can find you to follow along on your journey.
Yeah. So one, you guys can follow me on TikTok at Clifford and Instagram at Clifford Taylor IV. Snapchat's been popping off too. Snapchat at Cliff Taylor IV, and then Threads Clifford Taylor IV, and then my YouTube handle is at the Clifford Show. And just to piggyback, just a little bit more advice to creators and going back to trends. So I know we didn't really talk much about it, but the whole Lakers need a center thing. I'll tell you why I will tell you why I was doing that until it ran dry. I will tell you. Because for me, at the time, I hated repetition. I hated it. And so when I did it, like when I did the trend the first time, and for the first time, I think I made a video and it genuinely, I cracked myself up while making it. And so, like, if it was just a video that went viral and I didn't crack myself up, I wouldn't have kept doing it. But like every time I heard myself sing at the end of the videos, it would for some reason it would just crack me up. And I was like, okay, I genuinely get a kick out of this stuff, so I'm gonna let it roll. So yeah, if you're gonna do trends, this is just my 2 cents. I mean, everybody's different, but if you're gonna do trends and it genuinely cracks you up and makes you laugh, rock out, rock out. But other than that, yeah, trends, I'll do some here and there, but you'll never see me do it more than maybe 2 or 3 times, except the
Mhm.
center stuff, obviously. But yeah, that's my last 2 cents. Cliff notes.
I appreciate that. Cliff notes. I like that. It's a good mic drop. Guys, make sure you follow Clifford on all the social media platforms. He's going to be making some big moves in 2024, closing out the year strong. Again, we appreciate you taking the time. It was just amazing to hear more about your journey. I learned a lot this episode, and I know the viewers out there will too. So thanks a lot, Clifford, again, and we look forward to seeing what you accomplish.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.